How was Wise? Okay.
Now I feel like I went around running. I saw you. Yeah, but it's all good.
You were there for
I was there for 8 days.
okay.
Yeah, but this was planned like last year for my 40th, so it all kind of worked out, which is great. But now I have 4 listings, and I'm like, oh, I need to go.
Yeah. When did you get back?
This morning at 2 o'clock.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That okay.
Yeah, it's a bit. Yeah, but I'm here. I'm ready.
You're good.
Yeah, I can't.
Come on, Joe. How are you, Pele? You've been. Okay, good.
She has 40 listings.
Right. Yeah. She's great. Yeah. And Ian.
I just met her. I met the whole back row there. And Miss Olivia.
Yeah. Who's working with Jack?
Okay. Okay. Yeah. No, they've been with their ex-sponsor for years. I always tell them, I said, did she retire yet?
Yeah.
But work on it.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
You might want to even the healthy.
You must have bought a salad over
there?
You want to put it right here? Good for you. Yeah. I do remember. Yeah, salad right here.
Hey, for you guys on Zoom, we're going to get started in about 2 or 3 minutes, so thanks for the patience.
I'm going to give you the resting chair.
Yeah, I love to
Get on my second.
Yeah, and I'm going to do Or I get it.
And here's some plates.
You plug it in, and each time you can load, and every night. And yeah. But it's supposed to be this is very special. Yeah, but so did you take college, right? So I don't know what it is, but please write that down. And don't reach it up. TARMACHOR. And get the long one, don't get the, we have 2 sides, get the long one. They don't have it on Amazon.
No, I'll do That's what I. So it's good to have the pressure's always.
I guarantee.
It's like you just want to be.
Oh, my God.
All right, let's get started.
One water.
Well,
Water? Yes, bottle water.
yeah, oh, good, I'll give you.
Okay.
All right, we are going to get started. We're going to get started, guys. Or get started. Sorry. I know you're being a host. I appreciate it. Happy Tuesday. Wow, almost into November. Pretty amazing to see how quickly this year has gone by. Obviously, a stellar year. The momentum continues. I don't want to take that for granted. I just had my staff meeting this morning, and that's the biggest focus for me, is to make sure that collectively we continue to stay focused throughout the remainder of this year, and we take that momentum into next year. We've had an extraordinary year. I'll illuminate on that in a moment, but I never want to take that for granted. And the more we're connected, stay cohesive, stay focused, the more collective success we'll all achieve, and individual success. So I always start off with a little bit on mindset, and I want to talk about our superpowers and how we achieve greatness. And I firmly believe that we all have infinite greatness. I really genuinely believe that about every single person. And how do we tap into that? So Alex, next slide. How do we actualize that potential and become the best version of ourselves, right? It's a process, right? Everything's a process. Nothing extraordinary happens overnight, and it takes discipline and it takes consistency, right? Your commitment is about fulfilling your greatest purpose, right? That is a commitment, right? It's not like 99%, it's 100+%, right? And that little difference makes all the difference, right? When you're questioning whether you should do something, that question typically turns into not doing it. When you're all in and you're not thinking about it and you're fully committed, you're going to do it regardless of how you feel. And I think that's such a big distinction between those that achieve at the highest levels and those that, are mediocre, quite frankly, right? And it really is a commitment to fulfilling your purpose. And what is that purpose, right? Identify that purpose for you. And that's going to be unique to every single person. What are your goals? What's your purpose in life, right? When that purpose is so meaningful to you and you've really tapped into that and you're clear on that, then obstacles just get run over, right? Otherwise, obstacles will deter you from moving forward. Obstacles are inevitable. It's how you respond to them. Next slide, Alex, please. Like, to me, again, your purpose is your reason for being. It becomes your identity when you're really tapped into it, right? And that is what life's all about, is fulfilling that purpose. For me, quite frankly, it's about uplifting and empowering other people. Leadership is my purpose, right? And I just happen to have this vehicle called Keller Williams that allows me to do that most effectively. And I leverage a lot of things that Keller Williams provides, and I add in my own dimensions to it. But it really is building leaders, right? That is my purpose. Like, if I can help every single one of you guys become a better leader, then I fulfilled my purpose. And that's what I strive to do every single day, regardless of how I feel. So figure out what that purpose is for you guys and be committed to it, and recognize there'll be plenty of obstacles, but when you're committed to it, you'll move through those obstacles and you'll persevere and you'll achieve, and you'll be much more gratified and fulfilled in whatever you do in life, right? It is taking the right actions, right? Having a plan, right? Having a plan that fulfills that purpose and executing on that plan every day with relentless, disciplined, consistent action. And the actions and the things that you can control, again, become non-negotiable. It's not, should I do it? Should I not do it? It's, I'm doing it no matter what. And I'm not attached to the outcome, but I am attached to the process and the activities that I can control every single day, right? It creates hope. It creates momentum. I think the power of momentum is extraordinary. And quite frankly, I see that a lot in my career. I have so much momentum that opportunities just, quite frankly, fall in my lap. And it's not by accident. It's not luck. I'm not a believer in luck. It's about, as they say, preparation meeting opportunity, right? And when you are clear on that purpose and it's about giving value to other people and you execute every single day that plan that you have to fulfill that purpose, you have infinite potential, pure and simple, right? Any thoughts, any comments before I move to the next slide? I don't want this to be a one-way street. Anybody? No one, come on. Okay, next slide. And I think a big part of that is understanding what I call your superpowers. I think everyone has their own unique gifts and their own unique strengths, and understanding and having the self-awareness to understand what they are for you and really, really tapping into those. And as I say, make your strength so strong, this comes at the end, that your weaknesses become irrelevant. And I use examples and because it makes it really simple to think about. Like you look at top performers, whether they're musicians, actors, athletes. No one's thinking about what they don't do well. No one's thinking about what Tom Brady doesn't do well. All they're thinking about when they think about Tom Brady is the guy wins games every time. And when there's 2 minutes left in the game and he's down by 3 or a touchdown, it's almost inevitable that the guy's going to come back and win the game, right? So his strengths are so strong that no one's thinking about all the things he doesn't do well. Again, make your strengths so strong that your weaknesses become irrelevant, and be willing to give those gifts to other people and understand what those gifts are and commit to fortifying those strengths throughout your life. We learn in school, oftentimes we get like tutored in the subjects that we're not very good in. And it's funny, I actually think that that's not a very effective way. Now, when you're younger, you want to be exposed to a lot of different things so you can help identify what your strengths are. But when you become an adult, really tap into what people gravitate toward. What do people think about when they think about you? And really just commit yourself to fortifying those strengths. Does that make sense? Any comments on that?
I love Tom Brady. I can listen to you talk about him all day.
I love it, Blake. You're awesome.
It's amazing when you lean into what you're comfortable with and what's easy for you. And a lot of times what's easy for you is certainly not easy for someone else. I can go back to even high school, college. These engineer guys, straight A's in high school, they take a creative writing class in college and they're flunking. Or other classes. We assume that everybody is perfect in everything. But the fun part is when you find your flow, when you find your strength, and it's easy for you, it may not be easy for other people. Lean into it strongly.
Yeah.
Just bless yourself that real estate seems easy for you. Okay.
And again,
whatever lead generating you're doing, whatever factors you're using, if you're picking it, you don't have to do anything else.
And there's a couple layers. Well said, Robert. Like, if you don't believe you can achieve anything, then you're never going to achieve it. So it starts with having that belief in yourself. And then when you identify that strength, right, and you're passionate about it, I'm a big believer, like passion propels perseverance, right? When you're passionate about something, it creates natural momentum, and you're going to just continue to plow through that, as opposed to having to, climb an uphill battle, right? You're creating momentum by almost going downhill because it's something you naturally are good at and are passionate about. So there's a high correlation between passion and strengths and consistency and perseverance. I mean, it's real simple. No one can deny that. So why not work smarter and gear towards something you're passionate about and good at, right? Identify your superpowers, right? And have the courage to continue to build upon them every day by taking action, right? And leaning into obstacles and leaning into challenges, because that's, again, how we build confidence, how we build resilience, how we build skill, and ultimately how we're position ourselves to create more value for other people, right? That's what life and business to me are all about. How do you have a great gift that people want and you give it to them, and then you get back far more than you could have ever given? Any other comments or thoughts on any of that?
I had something, Josh. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
So hey, everyone, is Success.
Success. How are you?
I'm good. I actually just had a coach that I've been in, just finishing called Believe Nation. And the whole coaching program, it's been like the last 90 days, we're just wrapping up. And he was saying when he started the coaching, it's all like success modules, teaching you how to believe in yourself, the confidence, as well as like immersing yourself from what you're writing, what you're hearing, what you're seeing, what you're touching and tasting, to really be in the environment of what you want. Remember I said that when I came, when I met you, and I was like, the environment matters because that's what I've been in. But he was saying he was trying to figure out how much he was going to charge for his Believe Nation course. And then he just decided he was going to give it away for free. So like all this training and coaching, everybody's getting a lot of the stuff for free, not the specific coaching that we're doing, but he has a free program. So it's like, do what you love and then, do it freely and give it away. And so much is coming back to you. Like other people are catching on and igniting that energy too.
Yeah, I mean, leadership again to me is about giving, with no expectation of anything in return. And when you give first, you get back far more than you could have ever given. And most people are waiting for the other person to take the first step, and therefore nothing ever happens, right? But leaders are willing to take that first step with no expectation of any reciprocity. But the beauty of it is you'll get it back in spades. But you got to take that initiative. Thanks, Success. You're awesome. Appreciate it. I think it's the last slide here. Also, again, coming back to superpowers, narrow your focus. So many people are trying to do everything. And yes, in this business, when you're new, you're going to have to do a lot of things and wear a lot of different hats. Because to me, you earn the right to delegate. And you create specific goals that when I hit this amount or close this many deals, I'm going to hire a virtual assistant. When I do this, I'm going to hire, to eventually you achieve such great success that you're only doing what you're phenomenal at and what you love to do. It's one of the first things, a conversation I had with my mentor, Paul Morris, who's one of the owners of this office. He's like, and we were explaining leverage, and he's like, what do you love to do? And like, let's create a path that you can only do that, right? Think about how happy all of us would be, right? And you can do that if you're willing to go all in on that purpose and fortify those superpowers and give them away and create value for others. That's leverage is the key to it all, guys. We all have the same amount of time in the day. How do we use that time most effectively in the things that we love to do most? That's the ideal life for everyone, right? So we can all achieve that, but it doesn't happen overnight. It takes practice. It takes perseverance. It takes consistency. And as I say, attempting to be a jack of all trades is typically a recipe for mediocrity. I get asked probably multiple times a week, hey, I want to get my lender's license. I want to do like, what do you think about that? I've said I've never once, I'm just using this as an example, seen someone who's a great lender and a great real estate agent, ever, period, right?
Yes.
I mean, come on, like trying to do, and it seems like, oh, it seems like a good idea. I can do the loan on the deal and I can do, I've never seen anyone do both extraordinarily well. So it's like, again, if you want to be great at something, go narrow and go deep. Make your strengths so strong, again, that your weaknesses become irrelevant. And that's one of the, that really is how you tap into your unique greatness. But you got to believe in yourself and you got to put in the work. And you got to be around, in my personal opinion, the right people, the right environment. That's why I wear it on my wrist. Environment matters. And it's not just like a hollow slogan. It's something I live my life that way. I'm very judicious about who I choose to spend my time with. And quite frankly, it's just a much more rewarding life. We all want to progress every single day. And these are some of the keys to getting better and improving every day. Wherever you are, as long as you can get better every single day, you will live a very rewarding life. Anybody? All right. I want to introduce Gloria, who has been gracious enough to set up all this amazing food and is always someone who gives with no expectations, truly. Like I've known this lady probably since almost day one, since I've been in this business, before I ever came to Beverly Hills. And anytime I've ever asked her for anything, it's always a yes with a big smile, even when it's like literally 2 hours before at the last minute. And she just lives her life that way. And you can tell it's extremely authentic. So Gloria, thank you for this. And maybe I'll give you a couple minutes to come up and tell us a little bit about you and Old Republic Home Protection.
Thank you so much. Hi, everybody. Happy to be here again. I think the last time was before COVID time, so I'm just so happy to be here. I passed around some brochures and well, some packages for each of you guys. If you didn't get one, then after I finish, I'll go around and I'll pass them out. I did just want to begin with, I'm with Old Republic Home Warranty, been with Old Republic going on 24 years in January, only Old Republic, because I really believe in the company. In all this time, we have never had as many service calls as right now. We are up 25% more service claims than ever. Do you guys have an idea why? COVID. Yeah, people are at home. And so there's more wear and tear on the systems and the appliances. People are paying more attention. It's not so much on the go because people are basically at home a lot. And so they're paying more attention. And so the reason I want to start here is because I want you to see that probably this is one of the first times where I really want to say how important home warranty is. Okay, if you are closing your transactions right now without a home warranty, you are increasing your liability. I had a client call me the other day crying because on a Saturday, because she wanted me to add the home warranty. And I had to ask, why are you crying? Because now she didn't tell her buyer that she could have gotten a home warranty. The buyer now has an air conditioner issue that's going on. They're probably going to have to replace the air conditioner. And now the homeowner is upset with the agent and threatening the agent because the agent didn't even offer the warranty where she should have. And now they didn't get it. Okay, so now the agent is in a bind. She wants us to pay $5,000 and she said, I'll pay $800, $900, whatever it takes. It doesn't make sense. I can always help you. Josh has always supported me. And like he says, I always want to try to help you look good to your customers because I understand that that is where your referrals come from. And so I want to be part of your team in that aspect. However, if you do not have a home warranty, I cannot just tell the company, add the warranty, and then we will take care of the problem. It doesn't work that way. So please make sure you are closing all your transactions with the warranty. Now with that, I put two different plans in your folders right here. And so I just want to highlight on the differences. One is a 12-month, one is a 13-month. The 13-month, I'm going to highlight on it because I think it's a better coverage. First, it has 13 months instead of 12. Usually the customers only get 12 months. The second thing is the roof is included into the price. So they don't have to pay the $100 extra. The roof is already on there. Now, our coverage also covers up to $1,500 in roof. The standard is usually about $1,000. So we're giving them about $500 more for roof coverage. Okay, and it's limited roof leak repair. So when you're telling your customers, don't tell them they have roof coverage because that's putting yourself in liability. Just mention it's a limited leak repair on the house, but we do cover up to $1,500. And then the fourth thing is that our deductible is $75, but with the 13 months, they will only pay the $75 if we actually go out and render service. So if we replace the water heater, we replace the air, or we fix the dishwasher, then they pay the $75. But if we didn't do anything, let's just say it has something to do, totally nothing to do with home warranty, but we still went out, they won't have to pay anything. Okay, only if we render service. So those are great highlights. Now, our prices did go up starting next Monday. The new prices kick in. You guys all have the new pricing. If you do have a warranty with Old Republic Home Protection based on the old pricing, you want to make sure it gets in the system before Monday because the old pricing won't be available anymore. Okay, any questions on what I mentioned? Our platinum protection, sometimes agents will ask me what is the best coverage. The platinum protection by far is the most comprehensive plan that we offer. It does cover $1,000 of gas and water breaks outside, which usually home warranties would not cover. It also gives them up to $2,500 for slab leak protection. So it's also higher than the industry standard. The main thing, I guess, the main concept here is that please don't close without a home warranty. I mean, minimum, it's going to be $400 or $500 to get a home warranty and reduce your liability and keep happy clients. Ordering your policies, order them at the beginning, not at the end. Hopefully you guys are the ones that are ordering them, but if you're not and you have an assistant or a transaction coordinator, you want to ask her to or him to order them at the beginning. And the reason being is because now you're getting the credit as an agent, your office is getting the credit also. I'm getting paid on it. But here's the main thing, that if your customer ever has a service issue that's not covered and it's an important client, you really want us to help, I need to go to my boss. If we were the initiating clients, not the other agent, then I can make those decisions with my boss. But if you guys let the other agent order it first, now I have to get permission from the other rep to help out your client. So it benefits in so many ways that you guys, as soon as you open escrow, you make sure that it's going to Old Republic if you do work with us, and that you get the credit and you're getting the right policies.
Can I make
Okay,
a suggestion, everybody? When you write your purchase agreements as buyers agents, put buyer to choose all options. Put your number, don't leave that blank. You want to be able to choose your own options in every warranty policy.
if I had a certificate, I'd give you one right now. But I will say that it's really important because also now the offers are changing, and home warranties in general across the board, we're trying to fight what's going to happen, but it's going to become very limited. So you're only going to now, with the new offers, going to be able to write the company name. You're not really going to be able to put what coverage or what options you want. So here is another reason why you want to be proactive and order your own policies, or make sure that you are in the same page with whoever's ordering them for you, about ordering them as soon as you open and ordering the correct coverage. Okay, this price is all good for any house under 5,000 square feet. If the home is over 5,000 square feet, there's special pricing. Just contact me and I will let you know. And last but not least, our toolbox. Great marketing tools in here to help you stay in touch with your clients. We have newsletters, and I know your Keller Williams offers many marketing tools, but if you want something else, we also offer our toolbox. And what's nice is that for Keller Williams, only Keller Williams, we have a button there that says, if you're a Keller Williams agent, click here. All our marketing tools turn red and white, so it's Keller Williams friendly, only for you guys. Okay, it takes 5 minutes to sign up on here. If you want more information or need my help, call me. I'm more than willing to do Zoom, live, whatever you need. I'm here to service you. Okay, whatever works for you.
You're awesome.
Okay,
Thank you. Michael, anything?
Just real quick, I don't know if anybody was on the call or the Zoom webinar with Jeff Kahn. He had a 4-hour class about the RPA, went from beginning to end. It was recorded if you weren't able to do it because it was during the caravan. The next one, it's going to be a repeat of today's class. It's going to be on a Monday, 10 to 2. It's going to be easier, probably time for everybody to go for. There's a lot of things that have changed. One of the things on warranty made it easier, so now you're not going to run into those problems with options because it's just going to give you a price. Look at the recording of the webinar. I know AJ sent it to me. I will forward it to Armand so he can send it out to anybody that wants it. Do not give it to anybody else outside the office. They were specific. It's only for forward living offices only. Do not just send it out. Please be familiar with it because it's going to be released in December, and that's 2 months away. So, yeah.
Cool. Thanks, man. Lauren, sort of state of the market.
Yeah, I'll start off. Now that Q3 quarterly 3 is behind us, we're able to really gather some quality info, how we compare versus last year. Last year, remember, it's a record year. So the COVID went down and then shot back up, and for the most part, it stayed relatively up. And on that quick note, we expect to finish this year 10% ahead of last year. That's where we're headed right now. So in terms of the overall state of the market, you can have that in a conversation piece all day long because it's already heading to November and we're easily on our way there. But I want to talk a lot of the big zip codes, Beverly Hills, Bel Air, 90069, Brentwood, a lot in our own backyard here. And there's sweet spots in every part of these zip codes. So I was able to gather just the units. I'm not going to focus so much on the sales price achieved because I think we know we're seeing record appreciation. So I kind of keep that separate. But in terms of actual units, there's some nice sweet spots. I'll start in Beverly Hills, backyard here. In the 0 to 3 million range, we finished about the same as last year. Okay, so 33 versus 31 last year. Where we saw a big jump was in the 3 to 5 million range. Okay, that's a nice sweet spot. There's 33 this quarter compared to 20 last quarter. Okay, so that was a nice jump. Also,
And these are closed
these
deals.
are closed units.
Okay, yep.
In the 3 to 5 million range in particular, that was a huge statistic that you guys should go out there and start talking to people about. It's almost double, however you want to tailor the information. We know we've seen some record sales along the way, right? So in the 5 to 10 million range, we've seen 32 units sold this last quarter to 20 last year, same time. Okay, and then the 10 plus, the Uber high-end market, this was kind of the most staggering statistic. And it's more of like a kind of a fun conversation that you can start off any real estate conversation where it goes. But there were 38 $10+ million transactions this last quarter compared to 23 last year, same time. That's humongous, guys. That's how much money is pouring into Beverly Hills, where we're at now. And that 38 is by far larger than any other zip code. So if I look at 9069 Hollywood Hills, there were just 5 plus 10 transactions that closed last quarter in the 10 plus arena versus 38 here. So just use this to your advantage. And speaking of 9069, the sweet spot there where we saw a big jump was the 5 to 10 million range. So there's 19 versus 5 last year. So if we're looking for sweet spots in the hills there, it was that 5 to 10. In terms of the 10 plus, there weren't as many as people would think, but there was definitely a decent amount. And then, you know, we keep, the trend has always been since COVID, go to the beach, go to the coastal communities. We saw Malibu blow up last year and it's still held at a very high level. But Palisades and then Brentwood have been 2 of the most top performing zip codes in all of California. I'll start in Brentwood. You know, don't discount the 0 to 3 million or 3 million and under range, because that saw the highest level at 40 units closed last quarter. Okay. The sweet spot in Brentwood, again, is the 5 to 10. I think that's a really nice, when you think high end, I would kind of think 5 to 10. When you're thinking 10 million and up, just know it's like going for the Grand Slam and the bottom of the 9th in the World Series. You know, that's kind of the way I look at the 10 plus. I'm not saying don't go for it, but the 5 to 10 is super high end. And I think there's a big piece of the pie that multiple agents can get. So we saw 23 versus 14 last year. So that's a nice number in Brentwood. And then last, I'll just kind of conclude it with Palisades, which has been, you know, super happening zip code. The ultra sweet spot in the Palisades is actually 3 to 5 million. So just like when you hear, oh, it's so expensive, that is and that, the 3 to 5 million, there were 47 sales that took place last quarter compared to 36 last year. Okay, everything else is lower in terms of units. The 5 to 10, there were 27 versus 20, and then the 10 plus, there was 11 versus 2. So lots of price point levels in every zip code. Use it to your advantage. I'm only saying this, guys, because we're in the 4th quarter. We expect 4th quarter to finish stronger than the 3rd quarter. So be a part of that and use it to propel yourself into 2022. Just let me know. I can help you guys put together something like this for any area or the whole market. I'll hang out after the meeting. Brandon. Thanks.
Thanks, Brandon. Awesome. Lauren.
Okay. I will be brief and I will agree with Brandon that the market still is strong, guys. And for those that don't know me, Lauren with First American Title. Last year was an odd year, so just be careful of that. All right, statistics are fabulous, but just be careful of comparing versus 2020. I like a rolling average of the last 5 years, taking out the COVID year of 2020. So, but if you do that, I bet you the statistics will still be similar. The market is good. It is definitely still a seller's market. Luxury, which I'm going to call, guys, over 4 million, is still very, very strong. From here to the water, if you can find anything, people have been flocking to their own personal space. There's plenty of money still out there. Interest rates are low. I think buyers that are interest rate driven are feeling the heat of rates going up a little bit. So they're willing to step up to the plate and pay at list or a little bit over for properties. So it's a seller's market, but it's waning just a little bit. I know that the beginning of the year was just crazy. It was just on fire, like white hot. I think it's now pulled back a little bit. I think we can feel it. We're kind of in the trenches, so we can see that instead of 5 offers and waiving contingencies, you now basically have maybe 1 or 2 if you're priced well in a good property. And of those 1 or 2, they're starting to ask you for credits again, and they're starting to negotiate a little harder for you. They're not afraid to walk away. So it's changing a little bit, but still, for sure, a seller's market. Lots of money and people want what they want. So I expect this to be great. Lastly, about the fourth quarter is that expect inventory to shrink even more. So when supply constricts a little bit, prices stay high. So tell your buyers that they're not going to get any big deal or discount in the fourth quarter. I think a lot of sellers are already looking at putting their property out in the beginning of the year. So inventory supply is going to shrink a lot. So what you're going to be able to show your buyers is going to be thin or thinner than we have now. Real quick, I want to say something about, has anybody ever had, I'm going to go a little title on you guys. Everybody ever had a document pulled? Today I had a document pulled, and I want to tell you why. We had a deal where the grant deed came in from Florida. It came in last night. In order to close a deal today, Tuesday, the deed had to have been in the title company yesterday, Monday. The deed came in at about 5:30, 5:45, okay, from Florida. Title officer looks at it, and the notary from Florida stamped it just above the recorder line. I mean, like almost on the line, not quite. Title officer has a decision to make. This thing may get pulled, may not get pulled. What does she do? Right? She sends it down there because you never know. At 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, she's not going to say, well, I don't like it. It's too close. Go get me another one, especially Florida, right? So down at the recorder's office, the recording officers are like building inspectors. You never know what you're going to get. Sometimes you get one that's a little loosey, and sometimes you get one that's really by the book. We got one by the book, so it was pulled. So I want to let you guys know that, the first reaction is, why didn't title look at it? Why didn't you see you're responsible? Look at the deed, quarterback the stuff. Why'd you let it go? In the rush of things, we see this, but we send it down anyway because you never know what's going to happen. Unfortunately, it got pulled. So I just want to give you a little window into the title company, the decision making, and sometimes stuff like this happens, and it all depends on who you're going to get down at the recorder's office. Lastly, very quickly, 2 new things coming into property profiles. So if you order profiles, you will now see a school report. So that school report is going to be standard in every property profile, what school that the property is going to go to. And then upon request or as a standalone item, if you guys want HOA contact information, I now have that. So in a property profile, if you tell us, or just a la carte, let me know, and I'll get you HOA contact information for any condo around here. So you can go right to the chase. Right?
You're awesome, Laura. Thank you. Hey, with Movement Mortgage, our in-house lender, who's awesome.
I want to piggyback on Josh.
Yep.
Concentrating on what you do best and actually doing it the best you can is the best way. I get asked to do, oh, why can't you do commercial loan? Why don't you do this? I know how to do residential, and that's my best thing. And having a passion for what you do is really, really important. So that said, rates are climbing up a little bit. In the 3s, we were doing 2.5, 2.75. We're at 3, 3.25. Rental property about 3.5. Don't quote them 3. It's not going to happen. And a lot of jumbo stuff. We can go through a DU approval on 4 million. So what that means, if I have a package, I can run it through DU. If DU approves it and shows it ineligible, the loan is approved. And it could be 1-year tax return, it could be verification of employment, it could be anything conventional loan can do, a jumbo transaction can do. So if you have a really good buyer, it doesn't have to be 2 years tax returns and all that stuff. It's just a little loophole that we can put them in. All depends what you put in is what you get out. So a lot of times you get into you and then I'll pull it and it will be different because the information was incorrect. So you want to be careful with that. I do have a lot of non-QM loan, meaning no income documentation, asset documentation only. So if that stuff is available, it's coming up a lot. We have a really good, a couple of outfits to go through, even owner occupied with the large down payment can be no income, self-employed included. So those are non-QM, basically they're not Fannie Freddie loan, they're not backed up by anything, by banks or anything else, but they are available. They just have to make sense, and they're what they call the DSCR, which is debt service property. So if it's a 4-unit, has enough income, the client has the money, I don't need income. I'm doing a loan right now for 2 million, 3 units, 20% down. And it was like, they got 10-year interest only at, I know you love interest only, 4 1/8. It's not bad if the full documentation 3.5 and you're getting 4 1/8 for a rental property. No income. Now the client qualified, but those banks say, don't give us the income. We qualify them anyway. Why even bother? You know, and they're both attorneys and have a lot of money and all that. So it's just easier and faster. So I'll tell you when I see it, what I'm going to put it in. I have to study it and really understand what's the best way for the client. But those rates that are non-QM are in the 4s. It's not high.
Yeah.
So, and if the property rents and makes money, let me do those for you. They're not going through the regular channel, but they're not bad. They close within 30 to 40 days.
Wait, when you say large down payments, do you mean 30% minimum or
25 or up.
25 or
Yeah,
okay.
that loan that I just put in for 20 at 3 units, 2 million, they could go 15% down, but the rate will be higher. So the more down, the better. So we ended up going 20. Conventionally, you couldn't do that. You have to go 25. There's
Yeah.
no way around it.
Yeah, thank you.
Same
The
thing
point
with
is,
condos.
go to May and understand your options. There may be more options than you're aware of.
There's a
That's-
lot
yeah.
more stuff coming up, and there's some really good banks that's coming into us and saying, hey, we have this product. And we really don't make a lot of money on them because they're not serviced by movement or anything, but there are options. There's so many options. Just don't limit yourself to only conventional. May only can do that. I can do a lot. I just need to know the story so I can put the story together.
Awesome.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, May. You're great. I just want to recognize the weekly closings. That's weekly, over 40 closings. So that says a lot about the kind of business that we're doing here. So I'm not going to go through all the names. I'll post it on my social media tonight. But again, just tremendous momentum, tremendous accomplishment, and it's very inspiring. So big round. Congratulations. All right, the next slide. So this is where we are as an office relative to our goals. And again, this is where we are year to date. This is through September, does not include October right here. In these key metrics, our goal annually is right here. This is what's the gap left. And you can see in green means that we're basically 3/4 of the way through. So we're exceeding goals in everything. We're past 75% in everything. Listings taken, units closed, closed volume, company dollar, profit share, top 25 in the country, #1 in California, giving back, $560,000 through September back to you guys. So I take a lot of pride in that, as all of you guys should too. It's definitely a collective team effort, pretty amazing. And then this is comparing this September to last September. And again, we're exceeding last September in every metric. And last September was very strong. So we started to come out of the pandemic and things really heated up. So again, tremendous momentum, and I'm really excited. Amazing office, guys. So environment matters and the people matter for sure. This is Milestone Makers. Hopefully we're getting more awareness around this. This is a contest that the ALC, the Agent Leadership Council, had created. It's basically dividing the office into people who are 2 years licensed and less and 2 years licensed and more. And it's real simple. You get 1 point for taking a new listing, 1 point for a new escrow, a half a point on the lease front, and whoever gets the most points wins up to 5th place, right? And So in the next slide, these are some of our leaders so far, and a lot of people maybe have not reported. We send out an email every Friday, so it's self-reported. We're going to ultimately verify. We're trying to create a lot more awareness and activity around this, so it raises the bar and the energy and the competitive spirit for all of us. You can see Melissa Z, Sean Cormody, Shadia, who was just sitting here, Christina Graziano, Latrice, phenomenal in first place. Josh Canova, who works with Jeff Yarbrough, who's amazing. Layla and Fatima, who I think is somewhere right there on the screen. So again, guys, participate in this. This is through November. So through November. So there's plenty of time left. And if you haven't reported, make sure you do. Any questions on that?
What price is Maestros?
Masters, yeah. Maestro. I didn't know what he was saying.
It's the mask.
Right. Yeah. All right. I believe Robert's next, right? Next slide. So I'm going to introduce real quickly the gentleman who just, most of you guys know Robert. I have to tell you, like, Robert has been, and I say this with pure sincerity, personally, I'll say the greatest asset for me as a leader in this office since I joined. From day one, he's been completely plugged in, engaged, like the biggest advocate of this office, participates in everything. I always say, guys, and I hope that all of you heed this, and I'm sort of preaching to the choir, the more you engage, the more value you'll get. And there's a lot of great people, even in this office, that do really well, and they're not that engaged. I'm just going to be real honest. And honestly, if they were, they'd get a lot more back. And look, there's choices we have to make. We can't be everywhere all the time, but Robert is very engaged. I think he's benefited from it. I certainly know we have. I think it's a two-way street. And I just really want to thank him for that and all the value he brings to this office. Come on up, Robert. So I wanted to focus on listings, right? That's the name of the game in this business, guys. And again, Robert's very much, a broken record in the best of senses on that, right? Especially in this kind of market where inventory is low, it's very much a seller's market. When you have a listing, you are in control. There's tremendous leverage with that. You use your time far more effectively. So the name of the game is to get listings, right? To basically get an appointment, to get the listing signed, and then to get the home sold, right? Getting the home sold is semi the easy part. It's really the biggest part is getting the appointment first and then actually getting the listing signed. Robert, I believe, is very much an expert in that field. So I want to talk to him a little bit about what his strategies are on that process. So maybe Robert, just quickly for those that just a real quick background, how long you've been in the business and your perspective toward listings, then I'll get into a little bit more of the detail.
Including today?
What's that?
The time including today?
Yeah.
It's more than 20 years. It's a little spooky when I think about it because the time flies. If you're having fun and you're busy, time really moves fast. So along the way, make sure you slow down, take vacations, have some fun. But I was with Fred Sands, Coldwell Banker, Keller Williams, each one when I was there, the number one. So it's always good. And some people ask me, what company would you go to? I said, look, whatever company I'm at, that's probably the best ones. I wouldn't be anywhere except with the best company that would support me in my drive.
Why Keller Williams, if I may ask Beverly Hills, quickly?
Partially because of Paul.
Okay, that's good. Yeah.
My manager, Coldwell Banker, across the street at the time said, you should be at Keller Williams. He just transferred in. Some of you guys know who Steve Lewis is, some of you don't. I was surprised. And he said it to me twice. And I thought, okay, I'm going to randomly walk over there. And I did. And there was a line interviewing to be in the office late on a Friday. And I started to walk out. And I think this title rep saw me, or him and Paul saw me. Paul stopped me for an hour to get Rob Eigner to finally, after an hour, greet me and talk with me. And I said, look, give me a week and I'll make a decision. And then a week later, after my vacation, I joined. And It seems like it was a short amount of time, but when I look at the outlier book that Paul signed when he was talking with me, we were talking about what motivates individuals. You know, it's not IQ and income, it's more about just doing in your drive. If you fall down, you get back up. But he signed that book. When I look at it, it's more than 10 years ago. You know, it might be 12 or 13 now, but it's ticking quickly. That's my time with Keller Williams.
Love it. So tell us about your perspective toward getting listings. What do you do?
Well, I was just listening to what the title reps are saying. And mostly that prices are going to increase. And during these winter months that we're heading into, there's not going to be very much inventory. So two big things pop up in my mind, like there's no tomorrow. If I'm talking to a seller, and I have had recent winters where sellers said, these 4 listings, we had them on the market, they didn't sell, we're going to wait till the spring. These 5 or 6 other new listings, they wanted to also put them on the spring. I said, everyone's coming in the spring. We need to put them on the market now in the winter when there's less inventory. And that's exactly what we have right now. So if you're talking to anyone, it's not coming on the spring, it's coming on tomorrow, today. We know today, right now, and there's so much data that repeats this over and over, we're at the highest record high prices ever. Why aren't you guys screaming from the hilltops, list your property today? And some of you might say, well, the seller says he can't find something. Well, we can put, when an offer comes in, that you have an option to rent back for another 30 days. Now it makes the seller feel a little easier with you. You can use it or not, but it lets them transition. You can certainly find someone another place to move to. And we have systems at Keller Williams, whether we have off market or coming soon, use that to your advantage.
So one thing that Robert always, and I'm a huge proponent of as well, is urgency, right? There's no better time than the present. Tomorrow is not promised. We don't know what the market's going to look like a month from now, 3 months from now, 6 months from now. We do know that right now it's unbelievably amazing. So take advantage of that now.
This is the best ever.
Yeah.
Why wait? Why wait? I mean, it's a great listing market. At the same token, it's an incredibly low interest market. I remember when interest rates were 10% at the beginning of the 80s, and it was a peak in real estate. I remember at the end of the 80s, it was 18%. It was also, again, a peak high. So the conversations about interest rates, you can use them, but they're not really that correlating because of the psychology of buyers. If you tell a buyer that interest rates are going up in the next 6 months, and the talking heads in the news are going to say the price is going to fall because of that, the reverse will happen because the buyers rush in to buy before they see an increase. And normal interest rates are 7 or 8%. So all of us should be advising our wealthy clients and smart clients to buy a second place or a third place before a couple of years from now, when they go, wow, I should have taken advantage of those low interest rates. It's an easy additional conversation to do one more deal. And you're coming from contribution. May will be happy with the additional loans, creative loans. And a lot of our clients are entertainment people, so you need a creative lender for that, of course. Inside of our company, we do have the disruptive loan, and that certainly got me at least 2 or 3 listings directly because I just talked about it. Why would you go with us over someone else or not go with us? Well, we have a disruptive loan. Any buyer coming in can use it. There's no fees, cash back, and a low interest rate. And I've had people say, you know, that would make my house more marketed. It would give me more offers. It would give a chance at a higher price and they list with me. Now, did people come in and realtors even come in and say, look, can I use that loan? Yes, you could. Did it close with the Keller mortgage? No. But I got the deal over another agent because that's just one of our tools at Keller Williams that you can use in a closing technique to get a listing. When you're going into a listing appointment, most all of you know the purpose to get in there is to get the listing signed. It's not to dance. It's not to talk about the dog. You certainly can, and we certainly do. And the main reason anyone's going to go with you, not because you're the #1 agent in the neighborhood, the #1 reason they're going to go with you is because they like you, they trust you. Your superpower is you can build rapport, and that's the majority of the reasons why you're going to get a listing. And anyone that's seen that and leaned into it, they know suddenly they got a friend, the person trusts you, they're going to move forward with you.
So Robert, when you go on a listing appointment, dig a little deeper. How do you gain that trust? What do you do specifically?
When I go in, I do compliment. So whatever it is, if I can notice some detail that the owner did, I'm complimenting the skill at this. And sometimes that's a really easy thing to do when someone's designed a house or they've done a remodel. You go, wow, that color, I don't have that, but you have a gift. And a lot of times you see people that have gifts of what they've done with houses. So you're complimenting their baby. Don't go in and say, this is ugly, this is bad, you can't get this price. And I've had people say, Robert, you're the only one optimistic. We're going with you. These other guys were just negative. Now, my first office, there was this old realtor with a Southern accent. She's so cool and funny and full of flavor. She said, Robert, I used to go in, tell everybody what to do, and I never get the listing. She says, honey, I get them to sign that contract, then I tell them what to do. And I remember that. So clearly, if you had an appointment, I do like to walk around and give them, as I think of Van Gogh, who was at the restaurant, and the lady says, can you do a picture for me? And he says, sure. He says, I have nothing. She says, there's the napkin. He draws it, and she said, and he hands it back to her and says, $10,000. And she says, what? You only spent a few seconds. It was a lifetime of experience. So when you're going in there as an agent, you have a lifetime of experience and what to do. So if you can share some of your lifetime, like when there's model homes out there, 2/3 of the furniture, or actually all of the furniture is 2/3 standard size to make the houses look bigger. So if you're walking around a house and you can move a piece of furniture 2 inches and make the room look bigger, you're helping the seller. This is something you can do almost immediately. You can just point out little things. If they have street noise, a fountain out front, it's plus feng shui. It's $1,000, and they'll probably get 25, 50,000 more. They appreciate these things, little things, so little nuances. But I would never go into, you need to remodel this. Now you got a delay. Now you got a risk that someone else may sign a deal with them. I only go with small cosmetic things.
And you're doing that free, so that's.
I give enough to tease. And I tell them once we sign the listing, I can go through every room by room, and we'll fine tune it. So now there's a tease. You don't give them everything you got. You got to hold back a little bit. So you can say, look, once we sign the deal, come to this agreement, I'll go through every room in your yard and we'll fine tune it to maximize the value you're going to get. And they like it when you go through and you help them versus just being another realtor. And a big mistake that most of us make when we're green is we spend hours before a listing appointment going through numbers, and it has to mathematically be this number. Now, if you're talking to an engineer, certainly that's going to work. We have only a few engineering clients. They are very numbers, bottom line numbers, and that's their language. But if you talk to doctors, entertainment, lawyers, it's a much more creative approach. And at that point, it's not talking about numbers, but building that rapport again.
So Robert, how do you know, so when you go into that listing appointment, how do you know who your audience is? Like, how much homework have you done or are you just assessing that on the fly? Like, how?
That's interesting. If I can figure out ahead of time, someone on my team tells me this is this or this, I don't do the background research that most people do. I think it's very instinctual for me. My gut is very well refined. I can generally tell who the engineers are almost instantly. And occasionally, if someone refers me, someone will say, this guy's very amiable. I say, I got it. Don't worry about it. I got it. I understand what I'm talking about, the numbers. But most of our clients are just the opposite. They're entertainment crowd. They're very creative. They want a creative conversation. They want it to be more colorful, and they want to trust you. So the trust is going to be the big thing to do. If everyone in this room left, went into their next appointment, listing appointment, and you just built rapport, they're going to probably sign up with you. If you're frightened and you smell like you're frightened, and you're frightened because you're not the number one agent, and the studies show that they only go with the number one agent 10% of the time. So if you can build that rapport, it's about 60, 70% will go with the agent because they trust them and they like them, they build rapport. And all of us, the fun thing about this, Kathy can go into an appointment that I could go into, and Kathy gets it because she built a different rapport. And I'm going for 100% of the listings. And if I can't get them, I'm asking myself, what did I do wrong? What could I have done better? How could I improve? There is appointments I've gone on where my energy is not there. And I know at 80%, I'm not going to get the listing. And I try to do everything I can to get my energy up to a higher level. Somehow I stumble out still as I'm going through the process. And I have the listing signed against Compass and everything else.
So what point do you ask for the bit, like, to tell us, I know it's probably unique to every situation. but-
It's important. First of all, there's some basic things you can tell if you're going to get a listing. If there's not a price agreed upon, you can't sign a contract. And I have physical contracts with me. I'm very against docu-signing. And I had some people on my team once that said, oh, I was with him and then I left to go docu-sign. I said, but the guy wanted the property right there. You did 100 deals before, but just sign it while he's right there. He wants the thing to happen. You have a high risk of losing in this fast-paced market if you leave someone and they're ready to go. Sign it on the spot. If you do it the old-fashioned way with a piece of paper, you can overcome objections on the spot. With a docu-sign, sometimes it takes a day, 2 days, 3 days, suddenly they don't sign it. I've certainly had people call me up and say, you know, so-and-so is selling her house. A very crotchety old lawyer. Oh, she was one of the top 3. I call her up and she tells me, I find out indirectly that she already has a listing package for someone else that she's signing. And she wants me to see her house a few days from now with her uncle. I told her I've already seen it. Somehow in the next 4 or 5 minutes, I got her to sign mine, docu-sign it. I thought I pulled it for someone else who was just taking too much time. And a very big agent, by the way. So whatever you're doing, if it's a listing, you can't let it sit. And if you leave a listing appointment and it's not signed, before you leave, make an appointment to come back, hopefully the next day.
So tell us about price. As you said, you gotta have the, like, what does that look like? Do you come?
Let me finish that,
Okay,
that
yeah.
conversation, then I'll go to price. So I thought we had the listing, it was with another agent. It was Howell Banker and another Compass that we're up against. I thought for sure we had it. Why isn't this woman signing? We went back the next day because 2 other agents were coming in right after they were leaving. One trips out in front of us. And they always seem to trip when they see a realtor waiting to come in. Almost always. Best do. So don't trip on your way out if you have another agent. Be cool. Be cool. And they're going to be there, but just be cool. And when we went in there, the woman said, you know, you had me at the point when you said, you're going to be at a neighbor's house, you're going to stop by afterwards. She said, you had me when you reset an appointment to come back. That was enough to convince her to go with us. And she had wine ready, she was ready to sign everything. And it's interesting. So if you're tenacious, they feel that and they want that to be the agent that's selling the property. So if someone doesn't sign, make any reason to come back the next day. And obviously, if you know when the other agents are coming, then you just set it 15 minutes after the last appointment. Now, going back to price. If you can't come up to a price, there's no way you can sign a contract and put a number down because there's no number. So this person is not real. This is not a real seller. So you can tell who's, and there's not many of those. There's not many that are not real. The listings that I count that I went to where they didn't ever list with anyone, I count them as a non-seller too. My best year, just backing up to it, I think out of 98 appointments, I signed 97 listings, not counting the ones that just never listed. I'm not as hungry as I was at that point. That's a tremendously high close ratio where you just have to have it. My best day was 6 appointments. I signed 5 on the first meeting. The 6th one, I was tired. I was worn out. It was late in the day. I spaced them enough to get them. The 6th one, I walked into, and they went with another top agent. The only good thing about that story is 6 months later, he didn't sell it. He listed with me and I double ended with us. So there was a little bit there, but you got to go with that mindset that it's all possible within each of you. I believe the same as Josh, that all of you guys have infinite possibilities. Whatever fear may be out there, whatever you're doing, walk through the fear and it's infinite achievements you can do. We are all just beginning to reach our great potential. Yes, Jim?
Do you go in alone or with?
About half the time, I go in with other agents who ask me or I support on my team.
Like two other agents?
I never go with more than one more. In my experience in management, of which I used to run 30 different sales offices, I was a regional manager, regional trainer, I stepped out of that. Don't want to do it anymore. Josh convinced me to do a little bit of leadership and some more.
But never more than one other agent.
Never. My experience is when you're closing a deal, you got to be in concert with the person you're with. If there's two, you've got to be in concert. And when I do, I'm interviewing the other agent. What do you know about this person? What's happening? I go deep as far as I can, and I might even repeat it again just before we're going in. I meet there early with them. We kind of have a plan how we're going to go at it, and we're also flexible in approach. Most of the time, that other agent's relatively quiet, if not quiet, and lets me go ahead and take the lead to close the deal. And I've been in with managers at my side where they didn't say a thing. And I thought that was very clever, because a lot of times you get a newer agent with a huge ego and they're stepping all on my feet. I'm stepping on their feet. I'm trying to stop it. What I found though, 3 agents never can close a deal. So never go in with 3. And I told someone recently in this office, there were 2 agents trying to get a document signed. And I said, if there's 3 there, I'm not coming in. It's just too many. If there's 2, I'll step in. And it went smooth. The deal was signed and done. So never going with 3. If you're going with 2, be in symphony. Practice before you go in. Because otherwise you're going to step on each other's feet.
Coming back to price for a minute, what happens when you're dealing with sellers with unrealistic expectations?
Well, this is talked about a lot. The agents that are here for a while understand what I'm about to say. And the new green agents are all getting pooped on. I'm sorry, but you are. We hear, don't take an overpriced listing. If you don't have a listing in Beverly Hills, take it, because you're going to get a lot of buyers from it. Now, on the same token, if you have 200, I've been on panels at the conventions where the person sitting next to me has 200 listings. This person has 2,000 listings. Certainly they can say, I won't take an overpriced listing. Well, if you only have 10 listings and it's in your, by the way, if you're doing a farm area and it's in your farm, take every listing. This goes without saying. If it's in Orange County, you don't want to drive down there. Okay, I get it. But if it's in your farm and you don't take it, your competitor's going to take it and they're going to be a thorn in your side and they're going to grow. So if you have a farm, if you guys understand what farms are, most of you do, you take every listing. Now, on the same token, if you know you're taking it overpriced, and certainly during COVID, I told one lady, 2.4 million for this house, it should be 1.8, 1.9, maybe pushing it. There's no pool, it's next to apartment buildings, it's in the flats in the valley, nice neighborhood, but still in the flats. I said, we need to reduce it once we hit 30 days. The first buyer comes in, buys it full price.
Robert, you get to meet a lot of situations. I've seen it because I'm on the other side of the fence. And I have buyers who say, oh, this realtor is always overpriced and they always go overpriced and then later I'm lower than that. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
In this market, we don't hear, I haven't heard that for maybe a decade.
I have that in Burbank.
I see Burbank. Burbank has always been that lower priced
Especially the
area.
hill side, like the 2 million, the 3 million area.
The-
It was overpriced and then they dropped.
The interesting thing about that, again, if you have a ton of listings, if you have 20 listings and 10 of them are overpriced and 10 aren't, and you're making a hell of a lot of money, I'd rather be the person getting talked about than the person that's doing all the talking and complaining about you. And in this market, it's crazy. Things are selling. There is talk about don't overprice. Certainly, you should have a conversation if you think it's overpriced that, hey, look, the market's going to determine the value. If we don't get any offers in a couple of weeks, we need to reduce it. And you can even write that into your contracts. In this current market, which is crazy, and it's been accelerating, which normally over decades is 3 or 4% a year. We just went 10% and 20 and 30% in a lot of major metro markets. This is crazy. And we just over that 3 or 4% trend line that has been below the trend line for about 6-8 years, it just went up to the trend line. So where many agents, not many, a minority of agents have been saying for about 8 years, we're in a bubble, we're going to fall. We've been below the trend line. We just arrived at the trend line right now. And as Gary Keller was saying at MegaCamp, we don't know if it's suddenly going to pop down tomorrow or if it's going to be 4, 5, 6 years. We don't know when it will go back down. It's just barely over right now. That's where we stand. And that's that map that I've always had behind me in the Zoom calls, when you guys see me with that map, because it was showing we were below the trend line. Now we're just right at it. And again, we trended for about 8 years below it and got right back up to a fine line. So on pricing, I would say if you're in an area and you got a listing usually leads to 2 more deals. I've seen people sit and give a speech about high-end property, say, you guys shouldn't take any. I'm going, whoa, you should take the 10 million to 20 million because you're probably gonna get some other buyers and other listings that may be 10 or 20 million. Just roll forward, roll forward. I would say take everything unless it's not in your area. And then a conversation about price, reducing.
So let me, and then, because I want to open up the questions, getting the appointment. So now we talked about the appointment, let's take a step back. And
Everything you do should be aimed at getting an appointment. And I find the simplest closing techniques, there's many out there. If you're calling, you're not selling yourself on the phone, you're just quickly going for the appointment. I had someone on my team do 10 calls in front of me because I figured I would role play with them and just watch them. The first call was, no, we're not selling. So she said, thank you very much, hung up. There were like 10 more of those. I said, let me try one. The woman said, I'm not selling. And I said, well, what price would you sell for? And she goes, I'm not selling. And I said, look, I can meet you at 4 or 5. I just went to an appointment. I can meet you at 4 or 5. No. There were 5 more no's, 5 more. And I thought, well, she's not hanging up on me, so she's listening. I realized she can't meet with me at 4 or 5 because she's graveyard. That's the reason. And so I immediately go, I can meet you tomorrow at 12 or 1. And it was solved. You heard it stop. And suddenly on the 7th or 9th no, she says yes. And I go to the appointment. So you're gonna get those no's. And where one person is gonna get a no and think it's real, they're gonna back away. You shouldn't. You should keep on a phone until you get a yes or you get the appointment. And again, this is very important, and there's a lot of training on this, but you don't have to go through the training, just listen to it here and apply it. Do not do a listing approach on the phone. Do not oversell yourself on the phone. Just go set the appointment. When you get there, then you get the dance. Get the appointment. And if you need Kathy or someone else that's a great closer, grab a closer and take them with you.
So come back though for the, I think, great piece about just digging deeper and asking more until they like basically hang up on you.
Some people play it as a game. Some people play it as a game. Let's see how many people can get someone to hang up on you. I had one recently where certainly there were 5 hangups. Now she said her phone was bad on a couple of them, but when I called back, she answered. And someone on my team said, this lady's crazy. And I just saw it as a challenge. And wow, this is fun. Let me see if I can get an appointment from her. I got the appointment.
But okay, I come back to like, I'm not interested in selling. So
well, it's like going to Nordstrom's. How many times do you guys go to Nordstrom's and the salesman approaches you, saleswoman approaches you, and what do you say? I'm just browsing. You get pissed about 4 minutes later when no one comes up and talks to you because you're really a buyer. It's the same thing with calling an expired or someone that you can feel at open house that they are a seller and they want to sell. It's you getting past that automatic response that comes out, and it always will come out. I'm just browsing. I'm really a seller. I'm really a seller. If you can just take my hand gently and show me that you can make this happen. And a lot of times it's just, again, setting the appointment. You don't have to go through a long explanation. This is where we get it wrong. We overthink it because we're very smart in this office. We overthink it, we overtalk. Just go right back to the appointment.
let me
Keep trying
say
to
this
set the
though, it's one
appointment.
thing you said that I think may get overlooked. You talked about expireds. So you're specific about select people that have in essence raised their hand, expireds, for sale by owner, at an open house. Like elaborate on that, because that may be lost on some of the audience here. Like
At an
that
open
you're
house.
talking about this in the context of people that have a higher tendency to want to be sellers, right?
Yeah, I'm all.
Or that are
listing.
sellers, right?
I'm all listing focused from day one. Everything I do is listing. The buyers come out of the woodwork. They just always do. And I throw them back mostly at my team if I can get them to unstick from me. And it's funny, Josh knows right now, I just threw Paul Morris at somebody on my team a moment ago.
Yeah.
Who's looking at a listing.
You just what?
Paul's looking at one of his listings. So,
So
Oh.
I did a group text to the team. I said, who can show this property?
And at this time, when one person popped up, I'm showing. So it's still staying listing focused. And from listings, all the rest comes. And you can make a living with a buyer, but it's much harder. So at open house, I think what Josh is wanting me to tell you, most of the training at almost every company is this. Get a buyer in, sign them up, get their email, drip to them for a year, and hopefully they'll call you back. And there's a certain amount that will, and then you make money down the line. I'm either lazy or very efficient. My goal at every open house is to get 2 appointments. And that's not an appointment to call you back tomorrow. That's a physical appointment on the spot to go somewhere, either to come back later tonight and see this house at twilight, to go to your house. The house I was on in Hollywood Hills, I sent the agent that was with me on 2 buyer appointments. And I went to a neighbor next door. I just set it up. So there were 3 appointments. And we could have done even better, but I was training that agent who is newer on the team, how to do it with purpose. So when you're at an open house, you shouldn't be just there to waste your time. There are agents. I had a RE/MAX, this is a true story, about 4 weeks ago, called me up and said, Robert, because they have a house in the hills, how's your open houses going? And she goes, all I got was 1 buyer and 3 neighbors. This is a RE/MAX agent on a $2.5 million listing. I'm thinking, that was 3 listing appointments. Neighbors are listings. They're not wasting their time. We used to 10 years ago get a lot of what we call looky-loos. We're not getting a lot of looky-loos. Under COVID, the people are serious. You got less people out, but they're serious. If someone comes into a house, it means they're going to sell. So it's your job to go into listing mode. Now you've got to show the house. You got to walk around, weave the story of the house in with what you can do and how you could come over to their house at 5:30 or 6 o'clock better. And it's easy when you do it right to slide right in versus the person that says, I'm next door, I'm thinking about selling, and you don't set the appointment. So then you knock after the open house and they're gone and you can't contact them again. Or like most of us do, you call them the next day, their secretary's there, you're not getting through. Or some other agent worked faster than you, so you didn't set the appointment. And if you had 100 phone numbers and you wanted to call back 100 tomorrow, I'm not sure what percent you're going to get. And you're really calling them back only to get an appointment, I assume, because otherwise you're wasting your time. So if you're in front of someone where body language, 95% of communication, 92% is non-communication, you're there. You get so many visual clues. You're at your strongest. You're Wonder Woman. You're Superman at that point. Use it and set an appointment on the spot. It's powerful. It shortchanges. Your income will go up dramatically. Your close rate, your listing rate will go up dramatically. You're gonna make a lot of money if you only did that purposefully in the near future. Your next open house. Easy, easy, easy. But you gotta look for a listing. Now, here's a funny thing. Test yourself. Do 3 or 4 open houses and talk about the house as if you're trying to sell to a buyer. And I almost guarantee you get no listings. Switch it into almost everyone coming in. Question them about where they live. Do they have to sell something? Talk about how the market's really hot. It's great to sell. And talk about what Keller Williams tools we have that are unique to us to get that most money for your clients. Watch suddenly your listing appointments go up just from this one change of mindset. And the very, very, very top agents across the world at Keller Williams and the agents that, gosh, there's some mega teams where they make 40 or 50 million in commissions a year on the team. I'm not talking about sales, that's commissions on the team. They preach your open houses to get listings. So I'm not just making this up. And it scares me when I see them preaching that to their whole team, because that means all their team understands the listings are to get listings. And you should be going in with that purpose. It's powerful, it's easy when you do it right. Now you got to stop and you got to think, because you can't just go through the normal role of just showing the house. You got to switch into weaving with your showing what you could do for them. And then you find it's really easy. You leave out a little bit along the way, sprinkle your magic dust along the way, it becomes almost hard. You can feel the guy. You know the guy wants to list his house. You know he's going to sell it. He even kind of hints at it. He's walking out of the house and he's moving through your fingers. So you got to say to yourself, how could I be better? How could I get that appointment? What can I say differently? you should be giving yourself instant feedback too. And that's wonderful at open houses, because either you're making an appointment to show them something else, or you're making an appointment to go to their house. And if it's the same day or next day, that's fine. And it's that easy. It would go something like basically, hey, look, I could stop by your house at 5:30 or 6 better. So you leave the signs out, go there, come back, pick up your signs.
Last question, then I turn it over to the audience. What percentage of where do your listing appointments come from? So how many come from open house? If you had, how many, like, breakdown?
Well, opens just restarted, so it was amazing to go into opens when they restarted. I felt a little insecure because it's like doing this thing again. It's just, you know, the rust was there.
Yep.
Historically, open houses are probably the big one. I always felt that expireds were dirty, but you basically say, you know, Nicholas didn't do a good job and I can do a better job. You must be a terrible agent. I felt that's what it was about, instead of you just going in and talking about the positives of what you can do. And that's what the difference is. So I did that pivot because only recently did I start working phones. And I think I'm bad at it, but other people think I'm good at it. But I think if you're humble.
So the phone is expired?
Expired for sale by owners, whatever is there.
Okay, but your purpose about.
Red X or?
Yeah, whatever system you want to use. There's a lot of systems, they all work. The biggest component of all the systems is not the system, it's the agent using it. So there's great tools and there's bad tools. You could take the bad tool and just clean up if you just lean into it. The problem is we're not consistent on it. And Keller Williams standard is 3 hours of lead gen a day. How many people sitting in the audience are doing 3 hours a day? This is the standard recommended.
I always
for
say
everyone
everything
starting.
works. It's about consistency. I fundamentally 100% agree with that, right? But you're very focused on the calling piece for sale by people that have raised their hands that are potential listers.
Expired.
Right.
50% relist in 2 days with another agent. So if you're not doing it, it went to someone else. For sell by owners, I think it's within 2 weeks. The majority for sell by owners go with a realtor and they net more money. The data is there, it just has to be done. Now, those listing points are tougher for many reasons versus if you have a farm or you're doing open houses. Open houses are easy compared to those, but if you did enough cold calling, if you did enough of those expireds and stuff, you should be able to clean up. Some days with the team, I've got on 3 or 4 listings in one day. So
any other lead gen forms for listings specifically? Because I get asked that. Like,
well,
how do I break into a new luxury market?
There's of course door knocking, which you can't do in Beverly Hills, but you can do outside of Beverly Hills. So Beverly Hills would have to be postcards or emails or something like this. But if you go outside of Beverly Hills, you can certainly door knock. And if you're a totally green agent, many agents in this office and other offices have proven within a year of consistent door knocking, they land home runs. What's a home run? I don't want to pick on other guys that are just doing that. They claim they're doing nothing else when I listen to them. And it takes some guts, but it takes getting the rust out of your knees. You don't have to go to the spa and work out because you're working out in the hills around here. It's a great thing. And you're getting a lot of vitamin D out there. So there you go, anti-COVID shots.
Questions, because we could go on, Kat.
Actually, it's 2 questions I have from you. Do you have a listing package when you go to a listing appointment, or do you?
I'm
just walk in
and remember the core of what I talked about was you build rapport. It's not about you're number one, you're number one, you're number one. You're going to go into neighborhoods where you're not number one. But if they love Kathy, they're going to sign up with Kathy. So I think the mistake, and we're trained to do this, is going with a thick book. I go and I see a lot of the big books there, and it shows you who was there before you. I go in with a test, and the test is, well, here's what the average CMA says you are, and you can look at the face because we're there one-on-one. You can see if they feel it's higher or lower. And I've had people that sometimes say, well, I think it was here. And that means just, hey, I can do better than that, but let's just sign it, just move quickly. Then other people, you can tell that number is below. And when you're there, you might go, wow, their yard is much bigger. I went into a $10 million listing in Beverly Hills, and I told that I knew that you have one of the biggest, flattest lots in Beverly Hills. And they actually sent all the guys coming in back out because they realized that what I said was true. The other ones that sold at the comps, they were sloped and they didn't have as much flat ground. And the house ended up selling, I think, 3 or 4 million more than what the first group of realtors came in and said the valuation is. So it is looking and driving a neighborhood, if it's an area you don't know. Certainly, if you haven't dealt with Beverly Hills, drive a few blocks around it, and you see these 3 massive houses being built. And the seller says, "Oh yeah, they're building these big." Yeah, I know about that one and that one and that one. So you're the expert instantly.
So coming back to her question.
So I don't go in with a big package.
But you go in, what do you go in with?
I go in with 1 page.
One,
You
okay.
just go with one.
One
Okay,
page
so,
of comps.
so you,
And 1
like,
page of bio, and then I have a little few of what I've sold, and that's it.
Mhm.
And
what about the products that Keller Williams has? And you're very much familiar and you're a
Right,
big,
Keller Mortgage.
like, you know, the
con-
Keller
concierge
Mortgage,
renew.
the
Do you
concierge, all
bring
of
collateral
that.
for that?
You just
If-
talk about it. You
if-
don't.
I definitely talk about it, and I have 1 page of Keller Williams, what they do. Most people glance at it. I think if you bring in confidence, and I remember even when I was totally green, no one asked me how many $1 million listings at the time. $1 million was a lot, and now it's equivalent to about 4 million. A 12-year-old walks into the room before I had sold a $1 million listing, and he says, "How many have you sold?" And my response was to him, "Wow, the 12-year-old boy, he's the clever one." And I said, "This week I signed 3, which I did. I didn't sell them, I just signed $3 million listings at the time when I was green." But if you smell like you're green, they're gonna ask, and they can smell it. Your attitude, your confidence, it shows. And again, 92, 95% of communication is nonverbal. They don't have to be told that you're green. You're giving it off. So don't give it off. Go in with confidence. Go in with confidence. I find I've had a few people say to me, "Thanks for not going through all the comps." A lot.
What percentage of the time do you actually sit down
I
and
have
show
a
the paper?
page and I watch the face.
Right.
And you can tell if they think that price is close or not. It's a test. And there are teams that send people out without the main agent. I always go with my agents, but there are teams that will send people out on purpose with 3 different numbers, and they train them. And there's been Balson in this office at one time. He sent them out, and this is a Keller Williams thing. They would have 3 numbers, and they say, "This number, you got this chance, this number, and we could do this." And they would go with 3 different numbers, and then they let them choose the number. I'm not like that, but it's okay. It does work. It does work if you didn't have that skill set to choose a number. But I find you can get into a cold, let me back up a second. If there's 4 agents going in, and this agent spends his whole time talking about numbers, he's gonna leave, there's no rapport built. I go in and I talk to myself, what I'm doing, and I build rapport with them. They're gonna remember me like there's no competition. That guy said it has to be this number. I'm flexible in my marketing and my approach on the number.
But you don't have it down on a piece of paper.
I do have an idea, but I don't write it down
You don't have it.
because I
You just
think
talk about it.
you're gonna, if their number is 2,050,000 and you put 2 million, they get very sensitive and they just X you out.
Mhm.
And I find certainly, and this is a slightly different subject, but the same subject, if you're signing a document with someone, there could be a conversation at that point, once they're signing it, to change the price lower or even to up the commission. At that point, it's easy because they're signing it, it's done. And if you guys get that on the commission, it could be a nice statement of why a higher commission is going to motivate more agents to sell your listing and show your listing to create more demand versus another listing. So, and I felt guilty through the years because a lot of times I have to sell 4 listings and someone else has to sell 5 or 6 to make the same amount of money if I'm getting a higher rate commission. And so one of the best places, the best place you can put your time is 5 more minutes talking about why the commission should be more. Don't lose a listing over a commission, but certainly you can eke out another half or a point. And sometimes if you just quiet after you present what the commission is, they'll just agree. And don't quickly drop down. Or if you drop down a half a point. Not a whole point. And people love to fight and negotiate. If you make it hard, you give them $500, they appreciate that. If you drop 2 or 3 points, they don't respect you and they want more. So have a fun back and forth over a little bit, a quarter. And by the way, commission rates are kind of like shopping for cars. If they like 3 agents and you didn't give them the commission rate yet, they have to call you back to see if you'll do what Joe or Jane will do. And that means they like you better. That just means you got to convince them to go with you. So if you're giving numbers up front, sometimes you close the door, and because if they go with another realtor and they think you guys are equal, he's at a quarter point less, they're going to go with him, sign with him on the spot. So sometimes you leave the commission off. And what do I say? A lot of times if we're there at the early stages, I'll say it's all negotiable, which it is. It's negotiable up, it's negotiable down. Usually I'm wanting to negotiate it up. There's a lot of stories in that, a lot of stories. When I was totally green, by the way, and I was in a training class in UCLA, old teacher, started cussing at me. They were talking about, this is going back 20 years. What do you do when someone says 4% of the listing earn? And I said, well, why can't you ask for 6 or 7%? Because it doesn't say what the commission has to be legally. There's nothing anyway. It's whatever you negotiate. And I firmly believe if I was training 10 new agents and I said the commission rate on listings is 10%, a lot of them would come back with 10%.
Yep, I firmly believe it. Yep. It's arbitrary.
It is arbitrary, but it would motivate a lot of other realtors. And a lot of times we're dropping down and we don't need to. If you're bringing value, and by the way, in the last couple of years, I've had more than 50 realtors hire me to sell their houses for them. And I have successful realtors that I have multi-million-dollar listings with. If you bring perceived value, true or not, they're going to pay you, and they're going to pay you a commission. I had one realtor, a very good realtor, said one time, you sold my house for $2.5 million. I'm going back a little bit more time, for 6.5%. She said that was high. And then she wanted me to sell something by USC. And she said, I was handing her the contract, and she said, well, you charge me 6.5. What are you going to charge me? I said, put whatever you want. And I said it calmly. She gave me the contract back with 6.5. So if you present yourself that you're going to bring more money, all anyone really cares about, are they going to net more money with you versus another agent? Because certainly there's a lot of companies out there that will do a $250 listing or a $500 listing. Yeah. And they're not taking over our industry. They're not. We are. We have high-end clients and they want that white glove treatment. They want to excel. If you're getting plastic surgery, you're not going to Beverly Hills, Woodland Hills. You're not going to a plastic surgeon. You're going to Beverly Hills. If you want to sell your house, you're going with the Beverly Hills agent to get a higher price for your place. And you deserve that. Our clients deserve us, and we know we're going to take care of them. You guys need to run to and just kill it.
Yeah.
And
Two last questions.
Yes.
Clark.
With the call calls, if you have a seller with SFDO, how would you persuade them?
What was the question? If you did a cold call.
If the seller is very stubborn and doesn't want to work with an agent, but you see that the property is valuable, but he's trying to
It
sell
sounds
it.
like you're saying.
Sell by owner.
For sell by owner.
Yeah, sell by-
For sell by owners, historically, the data says
It's back to what he just said. Go ahead.
they don't sign up on the first time. Now, we certainly have gone into it for sell by owner and they sign up on the first shot. They usually take a little bit of time and they need to get a little bit of pain, and it might sell at their open house they're going to do, but if it doesn't, Monday or Tuesday, you should probably call them. Hang in there with them. It may take 2 or 3 appointments going back in. I did one for sell by owner where the guy said, I don't even know why I'm talking to you. It was for sell by owner for 6 or 7 months. And all I did when I went there, I called them back, or I set up a tentative appointment, come on a Saturday after open house. I was doing a Saturday open house. I had to close really quick, run over there, fill up the thing outside. He said he only had 30 minutes. I kept trying to get into that 30-minute just block to meet him. I rush in there, I signed him up. And I go, that little, took me twice. Here's the great thing about that. Another agent calls me up, and I'm pretty sure because of that one listing, I get a $3 or $4 million estate listing, and then suddenly I get 3 or 4 more that came from that for sale by owner that just bounced around. The 2.4 that I said I overpriced also came echoing off of that one deal that I got. But for sale by owners, you can't give up. Don't listen to them. Know that if they don't list with you, they're gonna list with another agent. They will. They will, and usually within 2 weeks or less. It's probably 10 days or less.
And the bigger point also is what Robert said before. It's like ultimately they all want to net the most, right?
Yeah.
And the whole premise is, yeah, they think they can save a commission, but are they actually going to get the highest price,
The
right?
data
That's-
shows they make more money with the realtor.
Absolutely.
The data
I
shows
know,
that.
I know how
Yeah.
to persuade them.
Right.
So if you're in their face once or twice more, if you just perceive I'm meeting with whoever you're meeting with, you're gonna move a little bit faster with a little bit more intensity. Pretend that game. Robert's going out there. I better go. I better give him the sign up now. They have nothing to lose. You're taking all the marketing expenses. Explain the strengths of Keller Williams and why we're #1 by JD Power and Associates for representing sellers.
Yep.
Explain that you can net them more. You have the disruptive loan that no one else has. What is that? It increases
Tracks
demand for their
more, yeah.
place. More buyers will qualify for their house. Any realtor you buyer come into can use it, and it's make them on average sell at a higher price and quicker.
Last
Everything
question.
being equal.
Any other questions, anyone?
Thank you so much.
You're awesome, Robert.
Pleasure.
Big time. All right. Good stuff, guys.
Very good.